Hey guys, this is going to be my January wrap-up and February TBR, where I go through the books that I read in January really quick and tell you really quickly what I thought of them, and then go through the books that I'm planning to read in February. So I read 5 books in January, which isn't that bad, but I read 4 of them in the 2 weeks or so before school started, and I've read only 1 of them since then. I've been reading the same book since before school started, and so I haven't been doing that great since school started, but when you see the book that I've been reading, it becomes partly understandable. I also don't have any of these books with me except the ones I'm currently reading and the ones on my Kindle, because I left them at home when I came to school. The first book I read was Absolute Relativism, The New Dictatorship and What to Do About It by Chris Stefanik. I gave that 1 out of 5 stars. Did not like it at all. It was a really short, almost pamphlet-like book. Then I read Catholicism by Robert E. Barron, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's a good introduction to some different things about Catholicism if you're interested in that. Then I read How to Stay Catholic in College by Catholic Answers Incorporated, I think is what INC stands for. And I gave that 3 out of 5 stars, which, it's another almost pamphlet type thing, and it was okay, but the last 2 books that I managed to read this month were both on my Kindle. One was Gene Sis by Matt Maciejewski and Nick Marcella, I think. I'm not sure about the first one's last name, but I gave that 1 out of 5 stars. I got that for review on Story Cartel, and I wanted to give up on it, but it was the first review book that I read of the year, and I really wanted to review it. I've reviewed all the books I've read for Story Cartel so far. They're usually really good, but I did not like it at all, and I've already written my review and talked about that, and it was the most negative review that I've written in a while. But yeah, I hated it. And then I read The Perfect Outcast by Melissa Ott Hansen, and I just finished that last night, so I haven't written a review for it yet. It's another review book that the author asked me to review, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's a dystopian, and there were a few times where it's okay, this is really familiar to something I've read in another dystopian book, and I think there were a few other small little things for me that nothing that made me hate it, but enough that it wasn't my favorite. But I'm gonna do a full review. It was still really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend it if you like dystopian, but I'll do a full review of that later, probably on my blog, most definitely on my blog instead of a video. So that will be coming hopefully sometime this week. Now we're going to get to the 5 books that I plan on reading this month. Usually I do the books I'm planning to read for school in addition to the books that I'm reading outside of school, because I'm an English major, so I read tons of books for school. But I'm only in 1 literature class this semester because I'm in Spanish and education classes, and I'm in the history of the English language, which is the history of English and grammar, so there's no I do have the textbook that I'm reading for that class on Goodreads. I should probably put the textbooks that I'm reading for my education class on Goodreads too, because I tend to do that if we're reading an entire book. But the only straight up literature class I have this semester is Shakespeare, and we read part of Aristotle for that, but not the entire book. And obviously we had to buy the Norton Anthology of Shakespeare for the class, and so we're reading out of there, but we're not reading the entire thing. We're only reading some of the plays, so I'm not going to tell you about that every month. I will say we read Titus Andronicus already, so that was in January, and we're reading A Midsummer Night's Dream now, and I can't remember what comes after that, but I'm not gonna worry about that every month. So for this semester, most likely it's just going to be books I'm reading for outside of school. Now that I'm done with that long rant, the book that I've been reading since before school started is Catechism of the Catholic Church. I'm getting close to done. This has taken me 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I might have started this really early in January because I read those other books really fast. So, I'm hoping this won't take me that much longer, but can you really blame me for this taking me this long? So hopefully I finish this soon. I don't have that much. The other book that I'm currently reading, I just started last night. So I started it on the 1st of February, because I'm filming this on February 2nd, if you're curious. Actually, come to think of it, I finished The Perfect Outcast on February 1st, so technically I should have included that in my February TBR, because that's what I normally do, but I didn't think to do that. So it'll probably end up being in next month's wrap-up too, because I'll completely forget. But anyway, that's a tangent. I'm reading Roseblood by Lelia I, which is the 3rd book in the, I can't think of the name of the series, but it's, the first one was Thorny, I believe was the title. I'm so bad at titles. But it was a Beauty and the Beast like adaptation, and then the second one brought in a bunch of fairy tales. I just reviewed it a couple weeks ago, and so now I'm reading the 3rd one, and I've only read 1 chapter, so I don't really have an opinion yet, but it's interesting because there's been a time skip. So we have 3 more books that I'm planning on starting this month, hopefully. First is Crossed by Ali Condi. I read Matched in the spring of 2014, I want to say. I'm not entirely sure about that. I know I was still in school, and I feel like it was spring. It might have been winter, so it might have been closer to a year since I've read the first book. But I wanted to get the second book. I wasn't going to get this, like I wasn't planning on it, but I went to a bookstore with my family, and like I wanted to buy a book, and I was gonna buy the first Infernal Devices book because I really need to read those, but they had the 2nd and the 3rd Infernal Devices books, like tons of copies of the 2nd and 3rd, and no copies of the first one. So that didn't happen. So I bought this instead because I decided that I needed to finish this series. So hopefully I'm going to read that this month. And then I have Catholicism Now I Get It by Claire Furious Smith. I have no idea where this book came from. I know I've had it for at least a few years, but I don't actually know where I got it. I'm usually pretty good at remembering where all my books come from, even if it takes me like years to actually get around to reading them. I still remember where they came from. I don't remember where this came from. I don't remember if I picked this book up and like chose it, or if it was one of the books that our church gave us when we graduated high school, or if I got it from somewhere else. Like I have no idea where this book came from, but I have it, so I'm gonna read it. And then the last book is A Student's Guide to Liberal Learning by James V. Shaw S.J. This is a textbook and has all the textbook stuff from our school store. We got this. We have a freshman required class that's supposed to like introduce you to college in like a number of ways, and one of the ways that they do that is because our school is a liberal arts school. They talk about what it means to go to a liberal arts school over a non-liberal arts school, and how that like helps our learning, and how it's so great that we've chosen this school because we're going to have a wider like education because we have to take liberal arts classes and things like that. So this is part of that, and it talks about like what it means to go to a liberal arts school technically, and we're supposed to read this for that class, I think, but they never actually like assigned, at least my teachers, my instructors didn't assign it that I remember, and like they said that we should read it, but we never actually had, like, I might be wrong, but we definitely didn't read the whole thing even if we read part of it. So I still have it because I didn't sell it after the class because it was so small and like not that much money, I don't think. So like I still have it, and I decided I'm gonna read it, and it'll be interesting now that I'm a junior and everything. So theoretically I should probably know whatever is in this book. But I think that is all, so I will see you guys soon. Bye.